Is going on, you guys? It is your boy Matt Talk Sports, and here I am again, and I'm back with you guys predicting a full week of the NFL slate. We are in week 11. Holy shit. So that means we only got 7 weeks left of regular season football. Some of you guys won't be able to see your team play ever again. I might be a part of that once it hits week 18. But who knows? We are in week 11, and that means we are officially past the halfway point. We have to cherish these weeks, man. They go by so quick, and they're the best weekends of the year. They're the best months of the year, and the months and the weeks that coincide with NFL football, it's dwindling. And I'll tell you what, I'm excited. This week 11 slate is jam packed. It's full of awesome games, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys. It's a big week for a lot of teams, especially my team. So let's get into it. If you made this far in the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe right now at Matt Talk Sports. Follow me everywhere at Matt Talk Sports, Instagram and TikTok. And also, let's go Bills. Now, let's get into this slate. The first week 11 game just wrapped up. Patriots versus Jets. Patriots win 27-14. And holy shit, did my bet get screwed? Plus 12.5. I should have bought points for this game. I really should have. But Justin Fields' fumble, one of the most catastrophic covers I've seen this year, and I was on the wrong side of it. So anyway, Patriots. Can I go on a quick rant here? I fucking hate the Patriots. I hate the Chiefs, but these past 5 years, I haven't had to deal with the Patriots because they've been bad. And honestly, they deserve to be bad for a little bit. They should be bad for longer. And instead, they are a year ahead of a rebuild that looks very promising. Not only with the hiring of their head coach and Mike Vrabel, who's turned the corner. Gerard Mayo was a horrible head coach. The Patriots made the right decision, got rid of him, and now they have one of the best NFL coaches in the NFL. And now they have their guy at quarterback, Drake May, who continues to be unreal every week, and it pisses me off. Another thing that pisses me off, they have two former Bills players thriving in their offense, and the Bills, quite frankly, could have used both of these players in Stephon Diggs and Mac Hollins. I mean, we paid Curtis Samuel 36 or 32 million. I forget the fucking number. And then the Patriots pay Mac Hollins 2 years, 8 million. And he's been great for them all year. Nothing absolutely insane when you look at his stats, but he's been a really great safety blanket and a great deep threat for Drake May. Mac Hollins was a really good Buffalo Bill last year. Great blocking receiver, was a safety blanket. We don't have a safety blanket in this Bills offense, and I get to watch Mac Hollins and Stephon Diggs thrive every week under this Patriots regime, and I am sick of it. All these Patriots fans had to suffer for 5 years, and they're talking like they suffered for an eternity. And now they have their star franchise quarterback. They have one of the best head coaches in the NFL who just fell into their lap, and it felt like destiny when they got him. Now they have Stephon Diggs, who is the perfect wide receiver to help form your young QB into a great one. So I'm pissed off, and I hate the Patriots. I fucking hate them. I do. I respect greatness, but not from within my own division, and not within my own conference. So the Patriots continue to be hot. They continue to pat their lead in the AFC East. They continue to be one of the very best AFC teams and one of the most impressive teams all year. Particularly one of the most overachieving. Despite their win total being high heading to this year, they're still exceeding expectations. They look great. Drake May tonight, 25 for 34, 281 yards passing, one touchdown, only took one sack. The O-line looked really good tonight. Travion Henderson, Mike Vrabel, why didn't you use this guy earlier in the season? This guy is a pretty goddamn good running back. It's shocking. Vrabel didn't use this guy, and then they use him in these past 2 to 3 weeks, and he's looked exactly like the player that they drafted, and exactly like the player he was in the preseason. Travion Henderson, 19 for 62, 2 touchdowns on the ground, and then also he had 5 catches, 31 yards for 1 touchdown. Stephon Diggs, 9 receptions, 105 yards. He was dominant. Another great safety blanket for Drake May. Mac Hollins, 4 for 64, 4 for 45 from Hunter Henry. Demario Douglas, 3 for 36. Patriots, they didn't really need to do much in this game, but they did enough to win the game, and that's all that matters. When you're playing this Jets offense, you really don't fear anyone. The Jets actually put up a decent fight today in this game. Like, they looked very into this game until they just showed they weren't a good team. Justin Fields, 15 to 26, under 16 yards passing, 1 touchdown passing, 1 rushing, 11 for 67 on the ground for Justin Fields. Breece Hall, 14 for 58. John Mechie. Hey, welcome to the Jets. 3 for 45, one touchdown. Mason Taylor 4 for 30. Jeremy Rucker 2 for 23. Adonai Mitchell 1 for 10, but he really should have had like 4 catches. He dropped like 3 balls tonight. Really, the difference in this game was the fumble from Justin Fields at the end of this game. One for covering purposes if you bet the Jets plus 12.5. And if the Jets had a slimmer of a hope, because they could have scored a touchdown, it would have been a 3-point game. But Patriots are just a better team. They're the better coach team. They're the more disciplined team. Um, and the Jets are just 2-8, and they're one of the worst teams in football, and they showed that tonight. I'm increasingly shocked by the week that the Chiefs didn't trade for Breece Hall. They could have had him, and they didn't. I really like Breece Hall. I just think he's in this Jets team that doesn't have a lot of hope, doesn't have a great offensive play calling mind behind him calling the plays. And if he went to the Chiefs would be so scary, man, because that's all they're missing in that offense. Shout out to the Jets for not just bending the knee to the Chiefs and just saying yes to the first thing they offered. Moving on, we are into week 11, and we're going to Madrid for the last international game of the year. 9:30 a.m. if you're on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. God bless you guys, because you have to get up and watch Commanders versus Dolphins if you're really into this football shit. Because, hey, if I was on the West Coast, and maybe I will be one point in my life, I would absolutely be up at 6:30 a.m. Because, come on, football's football. Commanders versus Dolphins. Dolphins coming off a huge win. They've looked better these past 2 or so weeks. I mean, they really have. I know they beat the Falcons 34-10. They lost to the Ravens 28-6, which it should have been a way closer game, but Dolphins had some really bad drives in the red zone. And then they beat the Bills pretty handily 30-13. And now they're heading to Madrid to play the Commanders, who have been one of the very worst teams in the NFL this year. They have been really bad and extremely underwhelming. Jaden Daniels got injured. Terry McLaurin's been injured all season. It's just been injuries after injuries, and it's been increasingly obvious they have the oldest defense in the NFL. That defense is really bad. Um, they haven't won a game since the Chargers game. They lost to the Bears 25-24. They should have won that game. They lost to the Cowboys by 22 points. They lost to the Chiefs by 21. They lost to the Seahawks, and they got blown out by the Lions. This team is really bad. But I will say this, Marcus Mariota hasn't been terrible. Like, if you're watching the game with your eyes and maybe not with a stat sheet, there's some plays by Marcus Mariota where you're like, hey, pretty solid backup in the year 2025. Not the worst starting backup in the NFL, to be completely honest. This really seems like a trap. And I know I use that word often. A lot of people use that word often, but this just seemingly seems like a trap. Because the Dolphins has won 2 of their last 3. They seemingly turned a corner after Chris Grier's firing, and they've been the best team out of these 2 teams here. Jalen Waddle's still dangerous. Devon Achane's one of the scariest offensive weapons in the NFL. Both of them are, to be quite frank. I'm gonna go with the Dolphins here. I know this team's square. The Dolphins have been the better team. The Commanders have lost 5 straight. Dolphins won 2 of their last 3, and they're only -2.5 favorites. I'm of the position here that the Dolphins shouldn't be favored over any team in the NFL, but in this spot they should be because they just beat the Bills, and the Commanders have been increasingly the worst team, and they have this backup in at quarterback, which no disrespect to Marcus Mariota, but Jaden Daniels is still the way better quarterback at this point. Give me the Dolphins here. They seemingly turned a corner. I like how that team played against the Bills last week. If you can stymie Josh Allen at quarterback, I think you could stymie Marcus Mariota at quarterback. But this is the NFL. So most likely the Commanders are due for a win. And what happened last week was a one-off incident with the Dolphins. So would I be completely shocked if the Commanders won this game? Absolutely not, because it's the NFL. But I think the Dolphins have turned a corner here. I am going with Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle. I just think this Commanders team, and especially this Commanders defense, might be in for a hell of a day against this Miami offense. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and I think the Dolphins will be able to outscore the Commanders in a shootout here. Give me the Dolphins. They move to 4-7. The Commanders fall to 3-8. Moving on. Now, I'll get my game out the way, all right? It's a 1 o'clock game. It's Tampa Bay versus Buffalo. Huge huge game for the Buffalo Bills and honestly the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have lost 2 of their last 3 games. They lost to the Lions 24-9 on Monday night. They beat the Saints in a really weird game 23-3, and they just lost to the Patriots 28-23. Let's get into it. This is going to be a really interesting game, man. A really interesting game. The Bucs are still not quite healthy yet. They aren't fully healthy, but honestly neither are the Bills. The Bills are banged up, particularly on defense, and they have some pretty big questionables on offense this week. Khalil Shakir is questionable, and Kincaid is questionable with a hamstring. Shakir with an ankle. Man, I already know how this offense looks without Kincaid, but I can't imagine what it would look like without Shakir. That would be a nightmare. But the Bills are getting Joshua Palmer back. They just signed Mecole Hardman, which, listen, we're 6-3. Things can be worse, but Josh Allen and Mecole Hardman having their own handshake already. Them planning a fucking handshake and coming up with one 2 days after he signed is some bullshit, and it feels forced. And I hate seeing clips of it, especially when my team just got blown out by the fucking 3-7 Dolphins. So Buffalo Bills promotion social media team, stop showing that fucking clip because I'm pissed. Read the fucking room. But anyway, we get Joshua Palmer back, and Kincaid is most likely not going to play, and Shakir is questionable. Hopefully he plays because we need him. AJ Espinoza, questionable with a concussion. Cam Lewis, questionable with a calf. I think both of them will play, hopefully, because we need reinforcement in the secondary and the defensive line. But Christian Benford is back this week, and so is Taron Johnson. So that is massive, 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 massive. We needed that back in the secondary. And honestly, this receiving core for the Tampa Bay Bucks, it's a banged up one. Jalen McMillan, obviously on IR. He's been on IR for the majority of this year. Chris Godwin is doubtful. And then Mike Evans is out for the year. He's not playing. So there's going to be Emeka Egbuka, Tez Johnson, Cade Otton. I believe Bucky Irvin might be back. He was limited today in practice. He is doubtful, so maybe he doesn't play. But if they do get him back for this game, it's a huge get back for the Bucs. So we'll be seeing Sterling Shepard, Egbuka, Tez Johnson, and Cameron Johnson at wide receiver. So listen, Emeka Egbuka has been terrific in his rookie season. He's been one of the very best receivers in the NFL when he's playing. He just scored a touchdown against the Patriots. So he's obviously going to be a problem. But I do trust the secondary, especially with the health being back against this Emeka Egbuka-led receiving core in Tampa Bay. So I am happy about that. And Bucky Irving is doubtful. So it's going to be Rachaad White and Tucker. And I forget the other running back's name. But this is a really great game. This is a freaking great game to start the day after the Madrid game. Bills versus Tampa Bay. I hope Tony Romo and Jim Nantz are on the call. I have to imagine they are. Baker Mayfield has been unreal this year. One of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL. He's been one of the very best quarterbacks in the NFL. 16 touchdowns, 2 picks. I mean, listen, this is going to be a tough one. The Bills should bounce back. If the Bills don't bounce back here, it would be the second time they've had a 2-game losing streak this season. And I'm not wanting to be a part of that at all. So, as mad as we were after that Bills loss last week as Bills fans, you got to imagine Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, Babbage, and Brady and Bean were way more angry than we were. But they know what they have to do to win this game. We have to get the run game back to going what it used to be before that Dolphins game. We have to show some confidence in this passing game. We have to open up this passing attack by the Buffalo Bills because Josh Palmer is back. He's our best wide receiver against man, so that can hopefully take the top off the defense. Khalil Shakir, can we run more routes than bubble screens and wide receiver screens? No Kincaid. Dawson Knox, we paid you a good amount of money. You show up in his absence. Jackson Hawes had a touchdown last week. Maybe we get you a little bit more involved in this passing game when Kincaid's not here. But anyway, despite us not having Kincaid this week probably, and despite us maybe not even having Shakir, I do like this wide receiving core getting back to business this week. It's been rough sledding for this wide receiver core heading into this Week 11 game. Cannot lie to you. But listen, Keon Coleman, Elijah Moore, Joshua Palmer, Curtis Samuel, Tyrell Schaefers, and maybe Mecole Hardman and Gabe Davis. So if we do not have Shakir, I think this wide receiver core is good enough to lead us to a better than average day passing, which is what I'm trying to see here. Because last week was an incredibly average or below average passing attack that we saw against the Miami Dolphins. So Josh Allen, I need a better game from you this week. cut down on the turnovers, even though I can't blame you for that fumble. It's just what happens. Jordan Brooks made a great football play. So it's like, listen, Tampa lost 2 of their last 3. Bills just lost to the Dolphins. This is at home. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think Baker Mayfield is a game, and I think our defense, despite it being slightly more healthy than it was last week, is susceptible to some big plays from Baker Mayfield in this offense heading into this week. Abuka and Rashad White and Baker Mayfield, K-Dot, and Tez Johnson is enough of a problem to cause for this Bills defense. But with that being said, I trust the man we have at quarterback. I trust this team how it plays after a loss, especially after big losses. This is in Buffalo. We do not want to let the fans down, and we want to bounce back after losing to the measly Dolphins. So give me the Buffalo Bills. Now, when it pertains to the line here, -5.5, I think we cover this. And listen, I might not put my money where my mouth is here because I hate betting on my own football team. But I think we cover this. I think this is a big bounce back win for the Buffalo Bills. I think we have a really good day on offense, and I am really confident here. I think we bounce back after a measly loss to the Dolphins. I think we remind everyone who the Buffalo Bills are, especially in the 2020s, because listen, last week isn't who we are. This week we show them who we are, or I start to get a little bit worried. I'll be completely honest with you guys. If we show up this weekend and we play like shit, like we did last week, you guys will see a side of Matt Talk Sports that you've never seen before. Like I will be belligerent and like incoherent, which I might already be, but like I might be even like way more incoherent than I've ever been because I will be full of anger, dismay, and confusion if we lay an egg this week. Now, if we lose in a shootout, I won't be that angry, but like if we lose 30-13 again, like wow. Then I will have some strong feelings and sentiments and who I want to get fired and what the fuck is going on if we lose that way. So I think the Bills win. I think they cover, and I think they show everyone who they truly are, and they show everyone that last week is not who we are this year. This week is who we are. So we play up to our opponents and we play down to our opponents. The Bucks are a really great team, so we're gonna be showing up and showing out because we have to come back out on Thursday and play a great Texans defense. So this is an important 10 or so days for the Buffalo Bills. Let's go, Buffalo. Let's get back on track. I don't want to be a part of losing anymore. I know we're going to lose probably once or twice more this season in the regular season, but come on. I hate fucking losing, dude. Don't make me angry for a whole week again. I hate it. Buffalo Bills win. They move to 7-3. Buccaneers. Now they will lose 3 of their last 4. They fall to 6-4. Moving on, Bengals versus Steelers. Big news out of the Bengals this past weekend, and big news for me because I bought preseason tickets to go see Bengals versus Bills December 7th, and I was hype about these tickets. Burrow versus Allen in the snow, hopefully, and then Burrow got injured. So I was like, fuck. As much as I want the Bills to win that game, I want the Bills to beat the best teams when they're at their full strength. So I don't have to hear all these excuses. And I don't have to go see a game. Would have been led by Drake Browning. Now I can get Joe Flacco or Joe Burrow, which Joe Burrow might be the most likely. So I will be eagerly hyped to go see that game. And that might be his first game back. But anyway, he is set to return this season. I don't know why he would return, especially if this team's doing horribly, but he wants to play again this year. So hopefully it's just the Buffalo Bills and we win it and I get to see it live in person because I will be there December 7th. But anyway, the Cincinnati Bengals 3-6 head into Pittsburgh. The Bengals won this matchup a couple weeks earlier in a shootout, one of my favorite games of the year, the Icy Hot Bowl, and the Steelers, one of the most underwhelming teams in the NFL. They looked horrible last week. They looked horrible. The Steelers have now lost 3 of their last 4. They lost to the Bengals, the Packers, and the Chargers. Obviously, they beat the Colts. But honestly, in that game, looking back on it, they had to rely on 6 turnovers from the Indianapolis Colts to win that game. And they only scored 27 points. So take that into consideration here. I don't think the Steelers are a good team. The Steelers are a really weird team. It's either their offense is really great and their defense is shit, or their offense is shit and their defense is playing good. Because that's what happened last week. Aaron Rodgers looked horrible and their defense actually looked pretty good, despite letting up 25 points. But Rodgers looked really bad. It might have been the worst game of his NFL career. He looked really, really bad. It was alarming. It was noticeable, and I think you can see on his face that Rodgers realized, like, hey, this is probably my last year. Like, I can't do this anymore. But luckily for the Steelers, this Bengals defense is really bad. It's just a really bad defense. The Steelers are at home. I'm gonna do it here, man. I'm really gonna do it here. I'm picking the Bengals here, and I probably shouldn't. The Steelers should probably bounce back, but ultimately, despite the Steelers defense playing really good last week, they still let up 25 points. And now they're facing a way better offense, but this Cincinnati Bengals defense will allow Justin Fields to throw for 250 plus. So Rodgers can easily do the same. He damn near did the same facing them earlier in the year. Rodgers earlier in the season against the Bengals, 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, 249 yards passing. Joe Flacco in that game, 3 for 42, 31 for 47, 3 touchdowns. I think the Bengals can replicate the same thing here, both on defense and on offense. I think they can score at will, and I think their defense can get opportunistic turnovers from Rodgers, especially with how he's been playing lately. Rodgers has not been impressive at all recently, and I think the Bengals will be able to take advantage of that. I think this team will be hyped that Burrow has announced he's coming back this year, and I think they can get a win on the road here against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this team is trending downward, and I would not be surprised if Tomlin, if not this year, next year will be fired, because I think he's going to keep doing the same things until his era and his regime in Pittsburgh ends soon, and I think it will. And I think the Steelers fall to 5-5 here. I think the Bengals move to 4-6, and I think the AFC North continues to be one of the most wild divisions in NFL. And my goodness, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins are gonna have a day on Sunday. That Bengals offense is gonna go nuts this Sunday. This is gonna be one of the best games of the 1 o'clock window and of the NFL Sunday, which is a crazy statement to say because all these lines on Sunday are incredibly close. The highest lines betting wise this weekend is -7.5. And those games seem like they can be close. This is another tough one where I think I'm leaning the dog here, which I hate, but this feels like the right spot to pick the Jaguars. The Chargers are heading into Jacksonville. Jacksonville's been trending down recently. Travis Hunter's on the IR, but let's be real. The Chargers, they feel like they are due, especially with the injuries on the O-line. They were able to get by last week, letting up 6 sacks against the Steelers and still winning by 15 plus points. And now they're going to try to do it again in Jacksonville, and I think they might be in for a rough Sunday. So, like plenty of other teams I've talked about earlier in this video, the Jaguars have lost 3 of their last 4 games, and they're trending downwards ever since that Chiefs victory on Monday night. Now they're back at home. They need a win bad, and I think they're going to get a win here. I really just think the O-line injuries, especially at the tackle position, are really going to pile up here. This Jaguars defense, despite it not being a woefully good defense, it is an opportunistic defense. And I think the opportunity they have this weekend is very feasible for them to profit off of, because honestly, the tackle position for the Chargers is banged up. They have one of the worst O-lines in the NFL. The O-line lets up constant pressure. And I think this Jaguars pass rush is good enough, and I think this defense will somehow be able to force the ball over and get in a good field position all Sunday and get the victory here as home dogs. Ladd McConkey is questionable. Quentin Johnson is questionable. And a backup tackle, which they probably need the Chargers, is questionable as well. Brian Thomas Jr. might play this weekend for the Jags. Parker Washington is questionable, which is big because he's been really good for the Jags, despite his stat line not being crazy. So if Parker Washington and Brian Thomas Jr. both play this weekend, I will be pretty goddamn confident in the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I'm pretty confident in them now. Like, I know they've been trending downward, and I know the Chargers have looked good both on defense and on offense. The Chargers' path to victory, which is a very feasible one, is completely shutting down this Jaguars offense, which hasn't been good. But ultimately, I think the Jaguars defense will put this Jacksonville Jaguars offense in great position all Sunday, and they will be able to get 3 points or 7 points. So I think the Jaguars will win this game in a close game. I can see this game being 20-17 Jaguars or 23-20 Jaguars or 23-20 2017 Chargers. I think they find a way to exploit the mighty injuries on the Chargers. Despite the Chargers defense being really well coached and a really good defense, I think they have a bad day here, traveling to the East Coast, playing in a different time zone. I think the Jaguars win. Give me the Jaguars. They move to 6-4. The Chargers fall to 7-4. Moving on, the Chicago Bears are heading into Minnesota, and I'm telling you, man, I think I'm liking the dogs. I really am. The Chicago Bears are underdogs heading into Minnesota, and obviously that makes a lot of sense because playing in Minnesota is a tough ask for any team. That crowd shows up and shows out, and really, the Vikings feel like they're due, and the Bears feel like they're due for a loss. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to play out that way. The Vikings have lost 3 of their last 4 games as well, and they're looking for a big win here. They need it if they want to have any slimmer of a hope to make the playoffs. They're 4-5. The Bears are 6-3. Um, I really love what I've seen from the Bears offense these past couple weeks, whether it's the diversity in their play calling, whether it's the spontaneity and the really unique play calls that Ben Johnson is brilliantly known for. They've been impressive on offense, and I think Caleb Williams has been getting better week by week. And I think the running game, this newly showcased running back duo the Chicago Bears have in Monangai and Swift, is a really good and underrated running back duo in the NFL this year. The Bears have won 4 of their last 5. They have been on fire. Um, they kind of feel like they're due for a loss. They just really do. But honestly, I'm not going into that. I'm not biting here. This usually feels like a game where I'm picking the Vikings because the Bears feel like they're due for a loss. But ultimately, I think the Vikings are going to struggle here. I know this Bears defense is bad. They have Brisker and TJ Edwards questionable. But I really do not fear this Vikings offense that much. JJ McCarthy, he is game. He has an alter ego that he named himself, which is kind of cringy, but hey, go ahead, do what you gotta do. Ultimately, here I'm trusting the better offense and the better quarterback. Really, in my opinion, Caleb Williams and this offense, this newly showcased running back duo, has looked really good. The offensive line has looked really improved, and I think they can score on anybody. Now, can I see Caleb Williams struggling against a greatly coached defense in the Minnesota Vikings? Of course. We've seen him struggle against lesser defenses and defenses that are in the same caliber as the Vikings. But the games that they've won have been against really bad defenses. The Giants, the Bengals, the Saints, and the Washington Commanders. The game they lost was against the Tyler Huntley-led offense of the Baltimore Ravens, and they got stymied on offense, the Bears, against the Ravens, and they lost the game 30-16. So something like that should discourage me because the quarterbacks they beat along the way have not been good, and the defenses they've played have not been good. And now the Vikings defense is great, but honestly, JJ McCarthy, despite showing some really great glimmers of hope and positivity heading into the future, if you're a Vikings fan, he has not been a good quarterback, and I can't trust him to do wonders against the Chicago Bears defense. I know the Vikings have just beat the Lions, and I know the Bears got blown out by the Lions earlier in the year, but I'm not dismayed. Give me Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears team. Would I be surprised if the Vikings were somehow able to shut down this Bears offense? Of course not, because this team is greatly coached, especially their defense. But ultimately, I'm trusting the offense and the better quarterback here. Give me the Chicago Bears. They keep it up. They continue to be on fire. This will be their 5th game they won in the past 6. So give me the Chicago Bears. They move to 7-3, and the Vikings fall to 4-6. Moving on, one of the worst games of the day, probably the worst. This is a game where no one gives a fuck. Like, who gives a shit who wins this game? But honestly, it's pretty clear who's gonna win this game, in my opinion. Despite this being an in-division game, and a lot of weird things and unexpected things happen in in-division games because you see that team twice a year, but I don't see how the Titans win this game. The Houston Texans play the Tennessee Titans at 1 o'clock. Houston's coming off a 29-point comeback against the Jaguars, or a 19-point comeback. I forget exactly what it was. The Titans are coming off a bye. No one had to watch them for a week, thank God. Despite CJ Stroud not being the quarterback of the Texans here, I think the Texans handle business here. I just think Cam Ward can't hold on to the ball. The Titans offense is bad. I think they're getting Calvin Ridley back this week, but this Titans offense is just bad, and they're playing one of, if not the very best defense in the NFL. So I think the Texans shut down this Titans offense, and ultimately I think this Tennessee Titans defense, despite being a confident and a pretty alright defense, I think Davis Mills, Nick Collins, Noel, Hutchinson, Chubb, and Woody Marsh will be able to score enough points to win this game and help out their defense. So ultimately, I think the Texans move to 5-5 heading into Buffalo Thursday, and I think the Tennessee Titans fall to 1-9, and they're probably the team who will have the number 1 pick heading into Week 12. Moving on, the Panthers coming off a loss against the Saints, which I should have saw coming and I should have picked. Now they're heading into Atlanta. They're coming off a huge victory off Atlanta earlier in the season. Um, the Panthers are 5-5. They've lost two of their last three, and the Falcons, they have been downhill ever since that Bills game. They've lost four straight games since that Bills game. Um, this is a team who was 3-2 after the Bills game. Now they're 3-6. They need to win bad, and I think the Falcons are due here. I think the Panthers showed us who they were last week, and I think it's been a struggle for Bijan Robinson these past couple of weeks. But I think Bijan Robinson does what James Cook did in that Bills game. I think Bijan Robinson is going to absolutely cook this Panthers defense, and I think Penix and London will be able to do enough to help Bijan along the way in the passing game. I think this Falcons defense is going to play fired up. They want to win after losing four in a row, and I think Bryce Young has a really bad day, and I think Dowdle gets stymied, and I think this Falcons defense shows up, and I think ultimately the Falcons move to 4-6 here, and this is a big game. Surprisingly, this is a big game for the Panthers. So if they win this game, they are heavily in contention for their division, which obviously I don't think they will win because I think the Bucks are that much better. But if the Bucks lose like I think they will, then this is a huge win if they somehow get it. But ultimately, I think the Falcons win. They are due. No way they lose five in a row. The Falcons move to 4-6, and the Carolina Panthers fall to 5-6. I think Bijan Robinson has a major, major, major day, and I can't wait to see what he does. I think he might have like a 3-touchdown, 4-touchdown day. Bijan Robinson's going off. He's having 150 plus yards rushing. I can feel it in my bones. Moving on, another bad game that no one really gives a shit about. This will not be on any of my TV screens. The only time I will see this game is if Scott Hanson goes to it on NFL Red Zone. But guess what, Giants fans? You lucked out. Jackson Dart isn't playing this week. He has a concussion. He is done for this week. However, guess who's starting for the Giants this week? Giants fans, if you just said Russell Wilson, you are a lucky son of a bitch because it's not Russell Wilson. It's Jameis Winston. A way, way, way more fun quarterback to watch and a way better quarterback to watch in this year of 2025 that we are currently in. Russell Wilson is horrible to watch in the year 2025, and he is a consistent black eye on whatever team you have him on. But anyway, the Packers, they're coming off a Monday night game. That was a good one despite the score being 10-7. Packers need to show something here. Jordan Love explicitly needs to show something here because he did not look good Monday night. And honestly, he has not looked great all year. He's rarely been fun to watch or even like good to watch. Like, he's a weird quarterback, man. Sometimes he plays like a top 10 quarterback. Sometimes he plays like a bottom 15, bottom 20 quarterback. So this is a big game for the Packers. I think they get back on track here. I think Scatterboo, no Jackson Dart. I think Jameis Winston, despite him being the more fun quarterback, I do think he will struggle. I do think he will turn the ball over twice or three times against this really stout and honestly action-packed Packers defense. And I think Jordan Love has a good day. I think this Giants defense is susceptible, and I do think this Giants defense is susceptible to allow the Jordan Love Packers offense to heat up and get some confidence heading into the rest of the season. So give me the Green Bay Packers. They moved to 6-3-1 in a much-needed win. And the Giants, you're playing for losses for the rest of the year. The Giants fall to 2-9. Moving on, this 4 o'clock slate is the best 4 o'clock slate we've had all year. Unreal end to the day if you're an NFL football fan from 4 to 8:20. Unreal. And then the 8:20 game is unreal. So let's get into it. I'm going to start with the least important game first. Browns versus Ravens. This is in Cleveland. Cleveland plays well at home. We saw how they played against the Packers earlier in the year. Cleveland has a really great defense, and they might be able to showcase their defense this week. And hopefully they do win this game. Hopefully they beat the shit out of the Ravens. And hopefully the Ravens fall to 4-6 this week. However, despite me wanting to manifest a Browns win, despite me hoping and praying for a Browns win, the Browns are going to lose this game. Not because of their defense, just because their offense is really bad. And Dylan Gabriel is a subpar quarterback, and I'm waiting to see Shedeur Sanders play the quarterback position for the Cleveland Browns, but he's not because Steven Stefanski hates him. But this Cleveland Browns defense will make this game close. I think this game will be close, but I do think the Ravens win and they continue to catch fire and they continue to gain confidence and get healthier. Listen, we saw the Ravens not look great last week on offense, but get the win. They scored when they needed to. But ultimately, the Ravens offense did not look great last week, and they're facing a really good defense this week. I know the Ravens blew out the Browns earlier this year, but that game was way closer than the scoreline would tell you. With that being said, the offense of the Browns is just a horrible watch. It's extremely incompetent, and I think the Ravens will be able to take advantage of that. I think this Ravens defense has been playing really good recently, and I think Lamar Jackson, despite him possibly struggling quite a bit against this Cleveland Browns defense in this game, they will somehow score enough points to win this game and help out their defense. So give me the Ravens. They moved to 5-5. They're back to being 500, and they're in full control of the AFC North, as far as my eyes can tell. Because really, the Steelers are not winning that division. There's no chance, unless the Ravens lose this week, which I hope they do. I'll save the best two for last. 49ers versus the Cardinals. The 49ers coming off a loss. Are the injuries catching up to them? Brock Purdy is officially back. Brock Purdy is officially back, which is big because I feel like I've been saying that for the past 2 or so weeks, and he hasn't been back, but now he's officially back. They're coming off a 42-26 loss against the Rams, which you can't really be ashamed of because the Rams are that great. The Cardinals, they're coming off a blowout loss against the Seahawks. They got dismantled. No Marvin Harrison Jr. this week for them. He is out. I think he had like appendicitis surgery or something. So no Marvin Harrison. And to me, that means no fun. I can see this game being close because ultimately, Jacoby Brissett hasn't been bad. The 49ers defense, it's a well-coached defense, but the injuries, they're coming insurmountable. I do think their defense will play well enough to win this game, of course. And I do think Brock Purdy being back is pretty big for the 49ers, despite Mac Jones being pretty goddamn great for them in Brock Purdy's absence. No Brandon Ayuk yet. Who knows when he's coming back? Ricky Pearsall is questionable. He might be able to play. I just think this 49ers team is better coached. I think the offense is better, especially with no Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Cardinals. And I do think the defense, despite being really banged up and the injuries being insurmountable against really great teams, I think the Cardinals aren't a great team. And I think the 49ers can get a win in this game due to their great coaching and due to the offense having Christian McCaffrey, Kittle, and Brock Purdy at the helm. So give me the 49ers. I think coaching perseveres in this game. And man, that's a really fun game. I think the Cardinals are scrappy, and I wouldn't let the 44-22 scoreline of last week's game completely scare you away from the Cardinals this week because the Cardinals are a scrappy team. The Seahawks are just that good at the moment. But I think the 49ers win in Brock Purdy's return. I think they just get the job done here. I think coaching perseveres. Saleh and Shanahan outcoach Gannon and company. So moving on, 49ers are 7-4 after this game. Cardinals will be 3-7. These last three games I'm about to talk about are absolutely unreal. The Seattle Seahawks versus the Los Angeles Rams is probably going to be the game of the year. I'm talking about you can't leave during this game. I'm not talking about leave your house either. I'm talking about you can't leave your house. You can't get off the couch. You can only go to the bathroom during commercial break. Like, this is going to be a great game. A great game. Both of these offenses are great. That's flat out. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Cooper Kupp, A.J. Barner, Elijah Rojo, Kenny Walker, Zach Charbonnet, George Holani, Sam Darnold. Then you have a greatly called offense by Clint Kubiak. And then you go to this Rams offense. Stafford, the MVP frontrunner, especially who wins this game. Kyren Williams, Blake Corum, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, Higbee, Parkinson, Ferguson. And then you have the greatly called offense by Sean McVay and company. And then you go to their defenses. Seahawks have one of the best defenses in the NFL. I mean, Leonard Williams, Witherspoon, Tyreek Woolen, the safety duos they got. I mean, this is a great defense they have. And the Rams, you might not know any of the names on that defense, but the names you do, they are great. And honestly, this is a greatly coached defense as well. And this is a defense that plays way above their name and their status as players. That is a really greatly coached defense, and that's a defense that constantly exceeds expectations. With that being said, the Seahawks have been one of my favorite teams to watch in the NFL. And seemingly, this would be the spot where they crash and burn. They come back down to earth. Usually when teams who haven't been in the spotlight recently, and they haven't really been in the spotlight in like major fashion, maybe ever, despite that Legion of Boom run and the Steve Largent runs back in the day, but this week, people nationwide are considering the Seahawks one of the very best teams in the NFL, and that's duly deserved. And I am a part of that company. I think the Seahawks have been one of the most impressive, if not the most impressive team in the NFL, and I didn't expect that. The offensive line is playing way above par. Zabel, the draft pick the Seahawks got, great pick. I mean, this offensive line for the Seahawks has been exceeding expectations, and that's why I said heading into this year, if they are able to do that, then this team will be better than a lot of people will be predicting, and that's what they've been so far. The Stafford led offense, one of the greatest offenses you will get to watch. Puka, Kyren Williams, Stafford, the All American, Puka Nacua, who, despite him not being and always staying healthy, he is out there and he's a tough guy to cover, without a doubt. He's one of the very best receivers in the NFL. Davante Adams is questionable this week, but he should be good to go. I love the Seahawks on the road. Every time they're on the road, I bet them out of respect and honestly out of necessity because they are a great road team. Ever since Mike McDonald has been a coach there, they've just been a great road team. And they're on the road this week heading into LA. And I think they go into LA and I think they get the win here. And I think they continue to prove they're one of the best teams in the NFL from top to bottom, especially when you look at their coach, who's one of the most underrated head coaches in the NFL. Um, I think this defense is really good and underrated. I think this is going to be the first time nationwide people will realize the defense that the Seattle Seahawks have. This is a really good defense. Despite them getting into some shootouts earlier this year against the Bucks and the 49ers, this is a really great defense. Um, I think they have enough people on that defense, enough players on that defense that will be able to hinder and force turnovers from Stafford. And honestly, listen, I get this. Out of these two quarterbacks, which quarterback is most likely to have a bad game or lay an egg? It's Sam Darnold, obviously, especially when you look across the other side of the field, it's Matthew Stafford, the All American, everyone's favorite quarterback. But Darnold's been really impressive this year. He really has. Stafford has been more impressive, especially with how old he is. I mean, the guy's 37, but he's been really good. I'm just going with the Seahawks here. I like what they bring to the run game. I like what they bring to the passing game. They have the best wide receiver in the NFL, Jackson Smith-Njigba. And I'm not just saying that because he's on my fantasy team, but he is unreal. This dude is just automatic. And you know what's crazy? He might get 150 plus receiving yards this week, maybe even 200 plus. You know, want to know why? Because these past couple games he's been playing, they've been blowouts. So he hasn't been really be able to play in the second half of these games, let alone the second quarter of those games. And this week he's going to be in a close game, and who the fuck is going to guard him? Like, Cooper Kupp is playing this week. Torrey Horton should play this week. And honestly, there's a weapons everywhere on that Seahawks offense where if you're paying fully attention to Jackson Smith-Njigba, they'll get you in other places. Whether it's Kenny Walker out of a receiving route in the backfield, or whether it's Torrey Horton, Cooper Kupp, Elijah Araujo, or A.J. Barner. The same thing with the Rams, though. I mean, they have three tight ends that are really good, in my opinion. Parkinson, Ferguson, and Higbee. And then they have Nacua, and they have Davante Adams, Kyren Williams. They got weapons everywhere. This is going to be a freaking great game. The over-under for this game is 48.5. I think you should probably play the over. I know the Sunday night game is really great, but if this isn't everyone's game of the week this week, I don't know what football they've been watching this year. Because we got to see Sam Darnold versus Stafford, Njigba versus Nacua, and Davante Adams. I mean, this is going to be lights out. This is going to be a great game. I'm picking a team where you have to pick them on the road every time they play on the road, no matter what happens, no matter what's the end result. Give me the Seattle Seahawks. I think they get it done. And I think they put everyone in the league on notice. And I think they put Vegas on notice. And I think this game will make them a top 3 Super Bowl favorite in the NFL heading into Week 12. So give me the Seattle Seahawks. I think they move to 8-2. They take over that division. And I think the Rams fall to 7-3. Moving on. We get into a game where no one believes in this team and everyone believes in the other team despite their record. The Kansas City Chiefs are heading into Mile High, Denver. 425. This is probably the game where Nance and Romo call together. What a game this is. The Broncos were woefully unimpressive against the Raiders on Thursday night. They had 10 days rest. The Chiefs had a full bye. But honestly, I think that kind of evens out. 10-day rest versus a 14-day rest. I think it's pretty much the same in my opinion. Listen, the Broncos have looked pretty bad these past 2 weeks. Now, Texans, it was excusable, because they're facing one of the best defenses in the NFL, and they put up 18 points. But you only put up 10 points on the Raiders 2 weeks ago. And that's just not a good out. But I'm sure Peyton and the offensive coordinator there talked about that and aired some things out during these past 10 days. And I think the Broncos are going to be fired up to play this game. I really do. And I actually think we are going to get a decent Bo Nix performance here. And honestly, if you get a decent Bo Nix performance, you're most likely going to win the game. And listen, you see the sweatshirt, you see the Bills logo, the bottom right of your screen, bottom left. I don't know how that really works on the transition here. But listen, this is a must game for the Chiefs. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care what Nick Wright says. I don't care what any Chiefs fan says. If you lose this game, you're losing the game to a team you talked about all year negatively. You said we don't believe this team. This team's shit. Blah 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 blah. We'll beat them twice in a row. If you lose this game, you're 5-5, and you gotta play this team again. And listen, this is a must win, and this is an important game. And I think the Chiefs have the most pressure here. Because let's say the Denver Broncos lose this game, they're 8-3. They're still ahead in this division, especially if the Chargers lose this weekend. And the Chiefs ultimately will be 6-4. But the Broncos, you're 8-3. So you're not entirely stressed out by this if you lose. I couldn't believe the narrative I saw this week. People saying the Broncos have the most pressure on them. Yes, I get it. The Broncos need a really good win, but holy shit. If the Broncos lose this game, you're like, all right, we got to see them the next time, and we're 8-3. We are still good right now. We can get back on track. The Chiefs, if they lose this game, listen, we're the Chiefs. We're probably gonna make the playoffs still, but it's gonna make things harder for us. There's still a lot of the season left. This is really tough because I came into this video thinking I'd pick the Chiefs because they're the Chiefs and they win big games and they're probably gonna beat a Bo Nix led offense. With that being said, I know Josh Simmons is back. Xavier Worthy is questionable, but honestly, they've been disappointed with Worthy this year. J.K. Dobbins is questionable for the Broncos. Marvin Mims is questionable for the Broncos. Alex Singleton is out against for the Broncos. Pat Surtain is questionable, but I assume he goes. If Pat Surtain plays, I think Mahomes struggles, and I think the Chiefs lose this game. I'm going with the Broncos here. I went with 2 dogs in this 4 o'clock slate, which I hate, but I did that. And I think the Broncos win at home in Mile High. I think Bo Nix has a more than decent game, and I think they shock people on offense this week. I think they outscored the Chiefs, and I think this Broncos defense shows why they're so highly rated, and they're one of the most difficult defenses to face in the NFL. Give me the Broncos. Give me the better defense, and give me listen, this is not just me manifesting this game. I generally think the Broncos will win this game. Would I be shocked if the Chiefs win this game? Absolutely not. They're the fucking Chiefs, but I'm taking the better defense here. I just am. I'm taking the home team. I'm taking a crowd that's going to be fired up and willing their team to victory. Hey, give me the Broncos. They move to 9-2, and the Chiefs fall to 5-5. That would be amazing to watch unfold for any fan, let alone a Bills fan. Moving on to the Sunday night game. The Detroit Lions are heading into Philadelphia. The Lions are 6-3, coming off a huge win against a really banged up Commanders team. The Eagles coming off a huge win Monday night. They're kind of on a short week here. They're 7-2. The Detroit Lions are heading into Philly. Give me the Detroit Lions. And I know I'm picking another dog here, and I'm falling into traps. And the Eagles, despite it not looking pretty, have been really good this year, and they have a great resume. They have one of, if not the very best resume in all of football right now. But I'm taking the better offense, and this Eagles defense is really good. It's a well-coached defense, but I think this Lions offense is one of, if not the very scariest offense in the NFL. Jahmyr Gibbs is the best running back in the NFL alongside Jonathan Taylor. One of the best O-lines in the NFL. Jared Goff, 20 touchdowns, 3 picks. Amon-Ra, one of the very best receivers in the NFL with Jameson Williams. I think Jameson Williams has a huge day. I think he scores the first touchdown in this game. I think he might have 2+ touchdowns. I think this offense for the Lions tears up this Eagles team. I think this is going to be a fun game. And this Lions defense is good in my opinion. I think it's a pretty goddamn good defense. But if the Eagles get their act together and they play up to the competition, they could get into a shootout with the Lions here. But ultimately, I think the Lions win this game. And honestly, this is a really good game on paper. I think this game is probably similar to the Ravens and Lions game. I think this game is going to be good for a little bit, but ultimately the Lions pull away and win by 2 scores or more. So I think the Lions win this game 27-13 or 30-16. One of those scores. I think the Lions win this game by 2 scores or more. I'm trusting this offense. I'm trusting this firepower, and I'm taking the road dog. Give me the Lions over the Eagles, and I think this game is going to be great to watch for a little bit until it isn't. And I think despite the Eagles being 7-3 after this loss, like I'm predicting, Eagles fans will be pissed. The AJ Brown stuff in the media has been weird. I will say that. Him going on Twitch stream and talking about how his situation is not great, have you been watching, is hilarious, and it's something out of like a Black Mirror episode. And he definitely knew what he was doing with that. First of all, that streamer he did that with, that streamer's clips are hilarious, and it's just shocking that AJ Brown even went on that show or that stream. What a year of the NFL it has been, man. Like that is one of the craziest storylines in the NFL. Extremely weird, and he knew what he was doing. Don't let AJ Brown tell you anything different. But give me the Lions here. I think the Lions win this game convincingly. They move to 7-3, and the Eagles fall to 7-3 as well. Monday night, we'll talk about Monday night real quick. The Dallas Cowboys are heading to Las Vegas against the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think the Cowboys get back on track here. I just do. I think their offense has been a little bit underwhelming these past couple weeks, and I think they get back on track here. I think they put up 30 plus on this Raiders defense. First of all, this Cowboys defense is really bad, so they'll probably let up a good amount of points to this Raiders offense. But honestly, this Raiders offense is not good. No more Jacoby Myers. Now you got Tyler Lockett, Trey Tucker, Deontay Thornton Jr., Brock Bowers, who will be a problem for this Cowboys defense, um, and Aston Genty. But ultimately, the offensive line for the Raiders isn't good, and their defense for the Raiders, outside of Max Crosby and Devin White, are extremely underwhelming. And I do think the Cowboys defense will have a good enough game, and I think the offense will return to being one of the best offenses in the NFL this week against the Raiders. So give me the Cowboys to get back on track. They get a win. Quinn Williams on their defense now, and Wilson, the linebacker from Cincinnati, on their defense now. I think we see a turnaround from this Cowboys defense against a measly Las Vegas Raiders uh, offense, and I think the Cowboys get back on track on offense, and they move to 4-5-1, and the Raiders fall to 2-8. So it is Week 11. That is my prediction and picks for Week 11. I'll give you my quick synopsis of all my picks right now in case you skip to this end of the video. So I got the Bills winning as the Buccaneers. I think Khalil Shakir, if he plays, scores. And I think Josh Allen scores a rushing touchdown as well. I have the Dolphins being the Commanders in Madrid at 9:30 a.m. And I think A-Chain scores. I have the Bengals upsetting the Steelers in Pittsburgh, or at least covering the plus 5.5. I think Jamar Chase scores. I have the Jacksonville Jaguars winning at home as dogs against the LA Chargers, and I have Brian Thomas Jr. scoring if he plays. Um, I have that defense of the Jacksonville Jaguars scoring as well. I have the Chicago Bears heading into Minnesota and upsetting the Minnesota Vikings, and I think Rome Odunze scores as well. I have the Texans winning against the Titans in Tennessee. I have the Falcons winning against the Carolina Panthers in Atlanta. I have the Packers beating the shit out of the Giants in MetLife. I have the Seahawks heading into LA and beating the Rams as underdogs. I have the 49ers heading into Arizona and beating the Arizona Cardinals. I have the Ravens heading into Cleveland and beating the Cleveland Browns. Give me Rashad Bateman to score. I have the Broncos at home as underdogs beating the Kansas City Chiefs. Give me RJ Harvey to score a touchdown. I have the Lions beating Philly, heading into hostile territory, beating the shit out of the Eagles, in my opinion. Give me Jameson Williams to score. And then on Monday night, I have the Cowboys heading into Las Vegas, beating the Raiders and getting back on track. A lot of those picks, as I recite them back, feel like traps and they feel like casual picks, but hey, that's just how I'm feeling, and that's what my football eyes tell me. It is week 11. I will see you guys Monday morning recapping the full NFL week 11 slate. Hopefully, the Bills get back on board. Hopefully, your team, if they aren't named the Tampa Bay Bucks, get back on track this week. Hopefully, your team, if they aren't named the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, get back on track this week. But nonetheless, everyone enjoy week 11. Cherish these weeks. It might be the best week we have gotten all year from top to bottom. So give me a hell yeah in the comments. Let me know if you made it this far in video. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me everywhere at Matt Talks Sports. Follow me everywhere at Matt Talks Films if you like film content. And I will see you there at Matt Talks Films on YouTube. If you like film content, I'll see you there. And also, it is your boy Matt Talks Sports. Thank you for watching this video. And thank you for subscribing, hopefully. And thank you for even clicking this video out of the blue. And thank you for sitting here watching me predict and go on rants. It's your boy Matt Talks Sports. I will see you Monday morning. Let's go Bills.